Hello chess fans, this is Rick from Chess to Impress with number 8 in the series The Rook Rules. I've titled this video, "If you don't know this man, you know nothing about chess." The gentleman there in the bottom left in the picture. Quite a bold statement, but I mean it. That gentleman and the position we see here on the board is one of the most famous stories in our beloved game. The gentleman in the picture is the Spanish priest Reverend Fernando Saavedra, who was born in 1849 and died in 1922. And if chess is still being played on this planet in 100,000 years from now, Fernando Saavedra will still be famous, while the games of Carlsen, Kasparov and Fischer will long have been forgotten then. Let me tell you the story. The long history of the position on the board has its origins in a game played between Richard Fenton and William Potter in 1875. Upon Potter's death in March 1895, G.A. Barbier published a position in his Glasgow Weekly Citizen chess column of May 4th, which was based on the Fenton-Potter game, with black to move and draw. A week later, when the solution was published, the Spanish priest Fernando Saavedra, who, while living in Glasgow in the late 19th century, spotted a win in the position. Saavedra was a weak amateur player. His sole claim to fame in the chess world is his discovery of this move. It is white to play and win, and as said, it is one of the most famous positions in chess. How do we win this with white? Well, it is clear that the pawn has to promote. That's the only way to win, because we're a rook down. But how can we get that pawn to the other side of the board without it being taken by the rook, and then black will have a draw? Let's try king b7. Well, we very quickly see that that doesn't work, because rook c5, and on the next move we will take the pawn and black has his draw. So the first move is not so difficult to find. In this position, white has to play c7 and is threatening c8, making a queen, and white will win the endgame of queen versus rook. What can black do? How can we stop the pawn? Well, there really is only one option. We have to give a check. And now white has to be careful. Don't go to b7, because then there is rook d7. And the pawn is pinned, and on the next move black will take the pawn and will achieve the draw. So after the rook check we have to do something else. What about king c5? Looks good, but black still has a very nice move, rook d1, threatening to play rook c1 with a skewer, picking up the pawn. If you promote, rook c1 check, and actually it is black who wins this game of chess. He doesn't only achieve a draw, he wins the new queen and will win the endgame with king and rook versus a lone king. So king c5 doesn't work either. The only move that is left is king b5. And then we can try rook d2 with black. Doesn't work because white queens and there are not enough checks. The white king doesn't have to go to the c file too early. King a4, another check, king b3, another check, and then king c3. The rook cannot go to the c-file and white wins with queen against rook. So after king b5 we have to give a check on d5. That's the only option, the only way to stay in the game. And king b4 and the same, rook d4 check. King b3 and rook d3 check. But now white can cross the c-file. King c2. And it looks all over. The chessboard is not big enough. The rook cannot go further down the board to make that skewer possible. It looks all over, but it is not, because black still has a great move. Rook d3 to d4. Yes, the rook rules. What a great move. Because if now white is not careful and queens, then there is rook c4 check. And you have to take, and this is stalemate. The black king is stalemated on a1. Has no legal moves. The queen is taking the a2 square away and the king is taking these squares away. Black has achieved a draw after all. So what a move, rook d4. The threat is now rook c4. Anyway, which will win the game? Pick up that pawn. And as said, we cannot promote to a queen. Also king c3 does not work because of rook d1, the old trick. If you promote, then black wins the game. So after rook d1 you have to play king c2, but then the rook goes back to d4 and we have the same position, we have a move repetition. So what to do after rook d4? Well, This is the Rook Rules video, and the solution here is to promote, but not to a queen, but to a rook. Incredible. And why is this winning? How can this position with rook against rook be a win for white? Well, now we see that the black king is in that corner. That was great earlier as it gave black that stalemate option, but now the black king is stuck in the corner. The threat now is rook a8, check. And the only legal move is to interpose the rook, which gets taken, and that will be checkmate. So this game is not over yet. White still has a threat, but black can defend against that. He can play rook a4 to take rook a8 out of the position. And what now? Well, we just saw a mate on the a-file, but now we see a mate on the first rank. White has the beautiful move, king c2 to b3, threatening the rook and threatening checkmate on c1. And there's nothing that black can do against it. If you play the rook away, then there is checkmate on c1. If you play the king, then king takes a4, and this is a simply winning endgame. Rook and king against a lone king. And we have the solution of this study. First, the position was given as a draw because of the very nice rook d4 move, which prevents white from queening. But it was Fernando Saavedra, the weak amateur player, who found c8 rook with a checkmate threat. So rook a4, king b3, and white wins. Fernando Saavedra will be famous for as long as chess is being played. And slightly less epic, but only slightly, is this position. It is Rick against the Chess to Impress viewers. On Sunday I played my 19th move, rook f1 to a1, ganging up on your poor a6 pawn. And it is your move. What would you play in this position? Please put black's 19th move, your suggestion, in the comment section underneath this video, and you will be part of this game. You will also be in the raffle. At the end of the game, I will raffle a chess book made available by my sponsor, the Beste Z, amongst the viewers who have taken part in this game. Looking forward to seeing your entries in the comment section. I hope you enjoyed this video on the Saavedra. He was Spanish, so probably the pronunciation is Saavedra. I know I called him Saavedra during the video. Apologies to any Spanish and Latin American viewers. Anyway, if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Please subscribe to the Chess to Impress channel, and please leave a comment. I will read them all and I will reply to them all. If you like the video, please share it on social media by clicking the share button on YouTube. You can find me on Instagram, on Twitter and on Facebook. This is Rick for Chess to Impress. Thank you for watching.